Ever walked through Istanbul and marveled at the magnificent Blue Mosque? Its domes and minarets seem to touch the sky, a true icon of the city. But who was the man behind this architectural wonder? Today, we're diving into the story of Sultan Ahmed I, the 14th ruler of the Ottoman Empire, a young leader who took the throne in a time of crisis and left a legacy that still shines today. Ahmed I ascended to the throne in 1603. He was just 13 years old. Imagine that. At an age when most are just starting their studies, he was handed the reins of one of the most powerful empires in the world. But this wasn't a stable, peaceful empire he inherited. His father, Mehmed III, had left a realm scarred by long, draining wars and rocked by internal rebellions. The treasury was strained, and the people were weary. The young Sultan faced a monumental task: to heal his empire and restore its former glory. One of the very first and most radical decisions Ahmed made changed the course of Ottoman history forever. For centuries, a grim tradition haunted the royal family: fratricide. To prevent civil wars and rival claims to the throne, new sultans would often execute their brothers. It was a brutal but effective method of securing power. When Ahmed's father, Mehmed III, came to power, he had 19 of his brothers put to death. It was a dark and bloody chapter. But Ahmed I chose a different path. He had a younger brother, Mustafa. Instead of following the cruel tradition, Ahmed spared his life. This was a revolutionary act. He broke with a practice that had defined the dynasty for generations, choosing mercy over bloodshed. This single decision not only saved his brother, but also set a new precedent for succession. From then on, the throne would typically pass to the eldest male relative, not just from father to son, marking a shift that helped reduce the brutal infighting that had so often plagued the imperial family. With the question of succession settled in a new, more humane way, Ahmed I turned his attention to the empire's bleeding frontiers. The Ottomans had been locked in the long Turkish War with the Habsburg Empire for years, a costly conflict that had drained resources and manpower. Ahmed's government pursued peace. In 1606, they signed the Treaty of Jitvatorok. This wasn't just any treaty. For the first time, it recognized the Habsburg Emperor as an equal to the Ottoman Sultan, referring to him as Caesar rather than a lesser king. While some saw this as a blow to Ottoman prestige, it was a pragmatic move that ended a devastating war and allowed the empire to refocus its energy. To the east, another long-running conflict with the Safavid Empire in Persia had been raging. This war was equally taxing. Again, Ahmed's administration sought a peaceful resolution. The Treaty of Nasu Pasha was signed in 1612. It established new borders and brought a much-needed period of stability to the eastern frontier. Ahmed's foreign policy wasn't about aggressive conquest and expansion. It was about stabilization. His reign was a time of strategic peacemaking, a conscious effort to stop the bleeding and give the empire a chance to recover from decades of warfare. But peace on the borders didn't mean peace at home. Ahmed inherited the so-called Selali rebellions, a series of widespread revolts across Anatolia. These weren't just minor uprisings. They were large-scale movements of disbanded soldiers, peasants, and local leaders who challenged the central government's authority. They disrupted trade, terrorized towns, and threatened to tear the empire apart from within. Tackling this was one of Ahmed's greatest challenges. His grand viziers led tough military campaigns to suppress the rebellions. But Ahmed's approach wasn't just about force. He also understood the need for justice and reform to address the root causes of the discontent. His reign was marked by a push to restore order, repair the administrative machinery of the state, and project an image of a just and merciful ruler. It was a slow and difficult process, but his efforts were crucial in pulling the empire back from the brink of internal collapse. Now let's talk about the legacy you can see and touch. Ahmed I is most famously remembered for his incredible contribution to art and architecture. The Sultan Ahmed Mosque, known to the world as the Blue Mosque, is his masterpiece. Commissioned by the Sultan himself, it was designed to be a structure of unparalleled beauty and grandeur. And its location is no accident. It was built directly opposite the Hagia Sophia, the ancient heart of Byzantine Christianity, that had been converted into a mosque after the conquest of Constantinople. This placement was deeply symbolic. It was a powerful statement of Islamic and Ottoman identity, positioning a new, magnificent imperial mosque to rival the splendor of the old. Construction began in 1609 and took 7 years to complete. The mosque is famous for its 6 slender minarets, a feature that was controversial at the time because only the Grand Mosque in Mecca had 6. Legend says the Sultan had to finance a 7th minaret for Mecca to appease the clerical establishment. Inside, the mosque is breathtaking. It's adorned with over 20,000 handmade Iznik ceramic tiles, featuring intricate floral and geometric patterns in shades of blue, which give the mosque its popular name. The light filtering through more than 200 stained glass windows creates an ethereal, almost magical atmosphere. The Blue Mosque wasn't just a building, it was a projection of power, piety, and the artistic zenith of the Ottoman Empire under Ahmed's patronage. It remains one of the most visited and beloved landmarks in the world. Beyond his role as a statesman and builder, Ahmed II was a deeply religious and cultured man. He was known for his personal piety and was a follower of a prominent Sufi sheikh. This spiritual side influenced his rule, guiding his emphasis on justice and his patronage of religious institutions. He was also a talented poet, writing verses under the pen name Bati. His poetry often reflected his religious devotion and his thoughts on a ruler's duty. This combination of a pious, artistic soul and a pragmatic leader is what makes Ahmed I so fascinating. He wasn't just a sultan who fought wars, he was a man who prayed, wrote poetry, and dreamed of building a monument for the ages. Tragically, Ahmed I's reign was cut short. He died in 1617 from typhus, at the young age of just 27. He had ruled for 14 years, a relatively brief period, but one packed with significant changes. He was laid to rest in a mausoleum just outside the walls of his magnificent mosque, forever linked to his greatest creation. After his death, the succession plan he had put in place was tested. He was succeeded not by one of his sons, but by his brother, Mustafa Kemal, the very same brother whose life he had spared. This marked the beginning of a new era in Ottoman succession, one that would bring its own set of challenges, but had definitively moved away from the ritual of fratricide. So how should we remember Sultan Ahmed I? He wasn't a great conqueror like Mehmed the Conqueror, or a lawgiver like Suleiman the Magnificent. His reign wasn't one of glorious expansion. Instead, it was a period of recovery, transition, and cultural blossoming. He inherited an empire in crisis, and through pragmatic diplomacy and a focus on internal order, steered it towards stability. He reformed a brutal dynastic tradition, paving the way for a more humane, if not always less chaotic, system of succession. And of course, he gave the world the Blue Mosque, a timeless symbol of faith and artistic genius. His short but impactful reign was a crucial bridge, a moment of stabilization that allowed the Ottoman Empire to endure and continue for centuries more. The next time you see a picture of the Blue Mosque, or if you're lucky enough to stand in its majestic courtyard, remember the young sultan who built it. Remember Ahmed I, the boy who became a ruler, the peacemaker who ended long wars, the reformer who chose mercy, and the patron who left behind a legacy of breathtaking beauty. Thanks for joining me on this journey back to the Ottoman Empire. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more stories from history. Let me know in the comments what other historical figures or events you'd like to explore. See you next time.